Bring this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Looking for an adoption of the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Councillor Meister. Question.
Moved by Councillor Meister to adopt the agenda as presented.
Regular meetings from April 11th. Everyone had a chance to review them. Oh, all in favor. Thank you, sir. All in favor of adoption of the agenda. Passed. Regular meeting minutes from April 11th, 2022. Motion by Councillor Cutler to adopt those meeting minutes. Seconder. Do we need a seconder? No. Question.
Moved by
Obviously,
Councillor
not here.
Cutler that the regular meeting minutes of April 11th, 2022 be accepted as presented.
All in favor? Moving on to action items. Bylaw 1739, property tax rate bylaw. Abe?
Yeah, on the agenda for first reading tonight is the 2022 tax rate bylaw. And this is the main source of, tax rate is the main source of revenues for the municipal operations. Collecting money for that. The tax rate bylaw also sets rates for the Alberta School Foundation requisition and the housing board, local seniors housing boards. And so in addition to setting the property tax rates, the municipal rate, there's also rates for those that we collect for those requisitions and send them on to other parties. Couple of notes on the tax rate bylaw. As of right now, we don't have the MD's tax rates, and there is some property in town that was annexed, and part of the annexation deal was that those properties would have MD tax rates for 20 years, the next 10 years. And so there may be a change in those rates by the time we come back for second reading, which will affect the municipal rates slightly, but it's not it shouldn't be significant at all. So, additionally, a couple of discussion on some of the pressures on the operational budget. As we've talked a lot about, council, the police funding requisition continues to be an increased burden for municipalities to bear. That has gone up 50% again. And so we're dealing with having to raise revenues for that service, something only a few years ago that we did not have to pay for. And another big source of revenue that we lost in the last couple of years was the MSI operating grant. Due to our assessment levels, we lost roughly $85,000 in that, and we're hoping that that comes back next year, but we just don't know. Right now it's not, and so that essentially means more money from the municipal taxpayers to fund the operations. Council's discussed this bylaw at the last Audit and Finance Committee meeting. Overall, there's approximately 1% increase to the municipal property tax, 0.88% to non-residential, and 1.09% to the residential rates. If we factor in those requisitions that I was discussing earlier of the Porcupine Hills Lodge requisition and the provincial education requisition, the overall tax rate is increasing 4.92% and 2.44% for non-residential and residential, respectively. And the bylaw is here for your review and information, and as I said, is on the agenda for first reading tonight.
We'll open it up for discussion. Any thoughts or comments with this? My only thought was, as we go into first reading after we have it, is to post something where we could possibly have an easy how would you put it? An easy read that's, that everyone could understand for a full understanding of why they are going up. I think my thoughts were, we just had in the paper that Claresholm states that we're in a good financial position, and then taxes are going up nearly 4%, and I just feel like there's going to be lots of questions. So I'm curious what everyone's thoughts are on having some sort of really easy to read information of why it's happening. Councillor Kettles.
I think that'd be an excellent idea, just a one-pager or something that we could publish, or I don't know whether it would go in the paper or just make it available, but I think that'd be handy. I think us as council, we've been pretty responsible when, you know, yes, it's a big increase for the individual paying the dime of over 4%, but our part of that is less than half of that. So, you know, I think we've been as responsible as we possibly can be to, you know, still maintain services and things that you know, we've been tasked to do here at council. So,
I agree with that. The downloading's been a little bit crazy, and I think we need the residents to understand that. When we get down to the final budget, I'm going to point out a few things in regards to last year's overages on water and sewer, monies that have been put into reserves, and make a recommendation that we actually take that down to zero this year, and help the residents save against this 4.8% increase. Because, yeah, we're way over, and if it continues with this year's situation, sorry, let me rephrase that. If we continue with the water issues that we had last year, and the drought and the amount of water usage that we had, which put us into a positive situation compared to what we budgeted for, we're definitely going to increase the burden onto the taxpayer, where we could actually be saving them some money this year and offsetting this through water rates. But yeah, it's from a taxation side of things, it's going to be a challenge. We do have a way to help the residents offset it in a different manner, and we'll talk about that when it comes down to approving the final budget.
Any other thoughts or comments in regards to this? Councillor Schlossberger.
I just think at this time, for the next 2 years, we need to be very conservative in increasing the burden to our taxpayers. It's with the inflation, gas prices, insurance rates, electricity rates, it's people seeing that number are going to go, whoa, wait a minute. And people are aware of how much money we've put in the bank, so they know how much money we've put away. So I think we need to be conservative.
Any other thoughts with this? We are looking for a motion to pass bylaw 1739. Would anyone like to make that motion this time?
Okay, just
First reading. Sorry, for first reading, sorry. Would anyone like to motion for first reading of this at this time?
I could do that.
Motion by Councillor Kettles for first reading of this bylaw 1739 question.
Moved by Councillor Kettles to give bylaw number 1739, the 2022 property tax rate bylaw, first reading.
Any further Questions or concerns, comments? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on.
Opposed?
Oh, opposed, sorry, thank you. 2 opposed. Moving on, correspondence. Honorable Ron Orr, Minister of Culture. Abe?
Yeah, so just notice of successful grant application under the Heritage Preservation Partnership Program. This work's already been done. This was for the sandstone work that was completed last year. And so the town got $38,539 under that program to just do some maintenance on that sandstone, so.
Thoughts or comments? Ticket for information at this time. Moving on, correspondence, utilities consumer advocate. Abe?
So a couple weeks ago, council requested that we send out some correspondence to the Utilities Consumer Advocate to support a residents' concerns over rising utility costs. And so we went ahead and did that. And this is the response from the Utilities Consumer Advocate, who essentially has said that their role in the rates and particularly the transmission and distribution, setting those costs, is to advocate for consumers at hearings every year. The hearings are held by the Alberta Utilities Commission. So this group that we sent correspondence to advocates for consumers before the distributors and the Alberta utilities. And so they have suggested they do what they can, they advocate for us, but at the end of the day, if the private companies that are the distributors make a good case for why rates should be raised, then the Utilities Commission approves them. And what they have suggested, the Utilities Consumer Advocate have suggested that it potentially write directly to the Alberta Utilities Commission. But this is a response to the council correspondent that went on a couple weeks ago.
Thoughts or comments with it? I would just like to point out, if they're advocating for us, one of their comments was, I hope you locked in your power and gas with one of the competitive retailers who do not charge any early exit fees. Doesn't feel like very much of advocation for.
No, or to set up monthly payments. Yeah.
And I know MD is quite worried about this as well, so I would really encourage everyone to continue to write in.
I have for my own personal accounts, both the commission and the other one, advocate.
Any other thoughts or comments with this at this time? Take it for information at this time. Moving on, correspondence, Alberta Recreation and Parks Association. Abe?
As an invitation here to join the Communities in Bloom program. The town has participated in the past, several years ago, maybe 10 years, 12 years ago. And essentially the Communities in Bloom offers awards and competitions yearly dealing with tidiness, environmental action, urban forestry, heritage conversation, landscaped areas and floral displays. Basically give awards to communities that are working to beautify their towns. So they're inviting Claresholm to be a part of that. I believe in the past when the town participated, there was an actual group, a garden society maybe, that actually spearheaded that. We don't have any group organized that I know of right now that would undertake that initiative.
Thoughts or comments with this? I think this could be passed on to possibly EDC and the Recreation Department to see if it would be something that their members would be interested in doing as a sidebar activity. And that's, would be my only thing I could see with it at this time. Other than that, we can just take it for information and move on. 5, press release, Southern Alberta Recreational Association. Abe?
Yeah, this is about the Southern Alberta Summer Games. It has been, I think, after a lot of discussion and consideration, they have decided to postpone the 51st Southern Alberta Summer Games. It was supposed to happen July 6th to the 9th in the town of Raymond. But I think most likely just coming out of COVID, it's just still a bit of a scramble, I think, to organize an event like that. And so what they've decided to do is make the games regional, the events actually regional, and so there will be different events held in different communities, which has never been done before. Fort Macleod is going to be holding a swim meet, and they will be using our swim club to actually coordinate that. So just general information here, council, that the 51st games have been postponed, and they're hoping, it looks like in the future, to get back on track. But for this year, there's going to be a bunch of regional activities, I guess.
This doesn't affect our 2023 Summer Games, does it, at this time? It will?
I believe that Raymond is next in, maybe you can help me out here, Kareen, but I think Raymond is next in line, so that would probably push us back another year.
Okay. Any further questions or comments with it? Take it for information. Number 6, correspondence, Sparta House. Abe?
Yeah, this, I believe, the second annual Sparta Stomp they're announcing. It's a 5K run / walk to raise awareness about the stigma of mental health. And the walk is happening May 7th, starting at 10 o'clock at the Sparta House. There's a $25 entry fee. You have to go down to the Sparta House to register. And then the funds raised will go towards programming throughout the year. They've got a few examples of what they'll be using it for. Just different activities that they host throughout the year. So just trying to promote the event.
Thoughts, comments on this at this time? Take it for information. Moving on, number 7, request for decision, Community Futures Business Loan Program. Abe?
On the agenda here is a request to participate in the Business Improvement Loan Program, and this is offered through Community Futures Alberta Southwest offices. Essentially what they do is they offer business improvement loans, and the participating communities pay the interest, so they're interest-free business improvement loans. And there's some ideas on the pamphlet here of what can be done, what the loan can be used for: signage for the business, repair, replacement of the storefront. It's about beautifying and enhancing the business, the building, new storefront windows, a number of things that they're used for. And so the Chamber of Commerce actually has approved paying 50% of that interest rate. So the town only pays the other 50%, up to $2,500. And so that's a nice gesture from the Chamber of Commerce. The Economic Development Officer, the committee rather, is in favor of partnering with the Chamber on this, and essentially there is money in the budget that would just be used. That'd be $2,500 matching to the district. Claresholm District Chamber of Commerce would be used and set aside for that in case the business improvement loan was used. But essentially, Alberta Southwest goes through the whole grant. There's not a lot required on the community other than reserving the interest portion. But Southwest reviews the applicants for suitability. They prepare all the documentation for the loan payment, ensures they provide the oversight to make sure that the loan funds are used appropriately. And so, yeah, we're hoping to participate in that and provide a service, interest-free business loans in the community.
Thoughts, comments?
Have we ever done anything like this before?
No, it's through Community Futures Southwest, and this is a new program for them.
Okay. Do you think there would be lots of interest
Yes,
from the
I talked-
community?
I talked to someone yesterday who was unaware of it and thought it was a good idea.
Any other thoughts?
How
Councillor Craigs?
are we gonna promote this, or how, obviously the chamber will promote it. Will our economic development guys do some stuff too, or how's the best to get the word out there, I guess I'm wondering?
Front page of the newspaper, interest-free loan.
Social media would be a great way to get this out there. The website also, but that is a good question. We can ask our economic development officer to ensure that the message of this program gets out there, right?
And they've been building an email blast list as well off of MailChimp, so it'll hit all the businesses as well, so.
Perfect.
So,
I'll
Councillor
make this
Schlossberger.
motion.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to accept the Business Improvement Loans Program offered by Community Futures Alberta Southwest, and that the loan interest be repaid at 50% by the Claresholm District Chamber of Commerce and 50% by the Town of Claresholm Economic Development Committee.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Passed. Moving on to request for decision 2022 community events. Abe?
Yeah, just a bit of conversation about the upcoming community events, specifically Canada Day celebrations, Fair Days, and I just got to get to my page here, the Spread the World event. So normally we have to close down certain roads to facilitate these events and designate areas for these activities as well. And so this year, what we're proposing is that the Spread the World event actually happen during Canada Day celebrations. There's a good logical reason for this. The funding that we receive from the federal government for the Canada Day celebrations has requirements that we either have bilingual events or bilingual advertising, or also I'm struggling with the word here, multicultural facet to the Canada Day festivities. And so combining the Spread the World event with Canada Day, it satisfies that grant requirement. And so we're hoping to combine those events this year. Additionally, I'll just go through some of the road closures that we're looking for here quickly. Fair Days, which will be held August 12th to 14th. The Art Society will be having a movie night and market, and use of the field at the Museum Exhibit Hall, and potentially closure of 2nd Street East from 50th Ave to 52nd Ave for lawnmower races. If that can happen, if that can get coordinated, then that's what they would like, that road closure. The Claresholm Parade, which is Saturday, August 13th, from 9 to 12. This is the route, is Highway 520 from 8th Street west to 2nd Street West, 2nd Street West from Highway 520 to 50 Avenue West, 50 Avenue West from 2nd Street West to 4th Street West, and then 4th Street West from 4th Ave West to Highway 520. and using as well the vacant lot for the parade staging grounds. The street market and the festival, closure of 49th Ave West from ATB to 2nd Street West, and closure of the downtown parking lot, that's for food, beer, and music. And then the Rocky Mountain Drift Club would be closure of 2nd Street East from north of UFA entrance to 47th Avenue East. Porcupine Classic Cruisers Car Show, Sunday, August 14th, use of Centennial and baseball diamonds. And then, of course, to use the Claresholm Arena as backup if the weather's not cooperating.
Thoughts or comments with this? I only see one potential problem though, and it's just for the street market and the festival. When they're talking about the closure of the downtown parking lot, would that leave the alleyway that goes behind 49th Avenue to the post office? I just could see there being some, I know we'd leave the east alleyway open, but the one that runs north to south we would leave open, but the one that runs east to west, would that remain open or would that be closed as well?
I don't know. I don't know if they've closed that one in the past. I don't, yeah.
I think they have.
Oh.
Have they?
No,
They
No.
closed the one
no.
Because they just blocked the,
Just
parking
the
lot.
entryway off 50th.
It works out. They do a good job.
Yeah.
Nobody complains about traffic
No, I was just worried about
one day.
just the alleyway of like kids and people running back and forth. Has that ever been an issue in the past for any safety concerns?
Nope.
All right, that was my only question. We're looking for a motion. Motion by Councillor Cutler to approve the road closures. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to approve the road closures for events in Claresholm as presented in the request for decision 2022 Town of Claresholm events dated April 25th, 2022.
Any further thoughts, questions, comments? All in favor? Passed. Moving on for request for decision, Greater Metro Hockey League expansion. Abe?
So, council created an ad hoc committee to explore the expansion of the Greater Metro Hockey League into Claresholm. And the group met twice, March 16th and March 24th, and invited all the big players from the arena, users from the arena, minor hockey, skating club, pond hockey, and adult hockey. We also invited members of the public to attend the meetings and had representation from operations and administration at the meetings as well. After these two meetings, the ad hoc committee wants to put forth a recommendation to council that the town proceed with the expansion, working with the GMHL to bring an expansion team to Claresholm. And there was a lot of conversation about kind of pros and cons and challenges and opportunities. There was, I think the biggest thing was a bit of concern from minor hockey over ice time, as this hockey team from the GMHL would require specific times and also would require a change room. There's a bit of concern over that. Minor hockey might occasionally want that change room. The GMHL said they could probably work around and occasionally vacate when they're not in town and whatnot to provide. And they did indicate that they would work with minor hockey to some extent. And so they do want to be able to sell liquor and make a bit of money off of that. Our liquor policy basically says for special events, so we might just have to, if council's in favor, we would have to probably amend that policy that groups can have liquor, serve and store liquor, but it's only for special events. And so this is for a whole season. We might just have to amend the wording of that policy to make it so that that group could apply once with council and get permission from council. Unless you considered a whole hockey season a special event, I don't know. So that's just one little hurdle one minor, I think would be a minor thing. But you see here, council, the pros and cons, and all, these are all discussion points. One other thing, the arena, the GMHL would like the arena open 2 weeks earlier than normal and 2 weeks later than normal, which does have some operational cost. We talked with operations and Parks and Rec. They felt it wouldn't be too much of a concern to shift bodies over there a little bit earlier and get the ice in a little bit earlier. And whatever operational costs we have, or portion of the operational costs we have for those extra couple of weeks would be offset somewhat by the rental fees for the ice. So not overly concerned about that. I guess we do need to set some ice rates, and we have some recommendations there. For ice rates, we've provided the other ice rates from the other communities. They're kind of all over the map, I guess. But that's just there for your general information. The rates we are proposing are below the average of all the other teams in their league, but they're consistent with existing rates that we have. And so the practice ice are proposing that would be 70-90, which is the practice ice that we give to rate that we give to minor hockey. I think that's a typo right there where it says prime. I think that should say practice ice. And then the actual prime ice is the out-of-town adult, $129.50 is what we're proposing. That's about it in a nutshell.
Thoughts, questions, discussion? Councillor Kettles?
So as part of that committee, we did meet with the groups, and as Abe's mentioned, there was, I would suggest there was a broad consensus. I mean, obviously minor hockey's concerns were that they were going to be able to get the ice times that they needed to have their programs, and I think that was relatively satisfied. It's going to be an adventure, and you know, I think everybody was generally in favor of, you know, saw more benefits than negatives. So from that, now my one question to administration is, if we actually in a motion set the rate, does that have to change does it have to come back to council every time something changes with that group, or somebody wants to change the rates, or like, you know, we don't have a council motion for rates for minor hockey or something like that. I'm just wondering, you know, setting the actual rate in the motion, but that's more of just my naivety of how things work here.
Well, if council sets the rates, we would go to them and say these, to the GMHL, these are the approved rates, and if they didn't like it, then, and if it created a kind of a stumbling block for things to proceed, then we would probably have to come back and request different rates. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I mean,
Yeah.
also, you know, moving forward, I mean, you know, if we change the rates for these guys
Yep.
2 years down the road, just because we're changing all of the rates, because we did a special motion here for these guys,
Oh.
would this have to come back here, or could it get just looped in with the, you know, the rest? I'd like to say it's administrivia, so I apologize for catching up on a point like that. But.
Yeah, and so we would need a motion because this is a new rate, basically. And I don't think we would ever really willy-nilly, it's a new user, right? And so we're just trying to include them in those rates. And so we just want approval to what to charge them. I don't know if we normally change rates outside of bringing the whole policy to council and council mulling it over and then just approving it. The reason we're dealing with it separately is because this is a new group, right? So.
Okay.
I'd be willing to make that motion. Oh, unless there's-
Just a question, so. I believe previously they said alcohol sales would go to them, concession to us. The price of admission, does that go to them, or does that cover like the linesmen and the refs and stuff like that? That's their money to deal with?
That's all them, yeah. Because they have to pay for the refs
Yeah.
and all of that.
It's possible if they do concession, then that, whatever they generate from that, or a portion of it would go to them as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions at this time.
Then I'll go ahead and make that motion to support the expansion for the GHML expansion for 22-23 season and start those negotiations, or start that process anyway.
So moved by Councillor Kettles. Question?
Moved by Councillor Kettles to support the Greater Metro Hockey League expansion in Claresholm for the 2022-2023 season, with practices starting September 15th, 2022.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Passed. We are looking for a motion for the fees. Moved by Councillor Cutler to set the ice fees as presented. Question?
So this one is just for the season. So moved by Councillor Cutler to set ice fees for the Greater Metro Hockey League at $129.50 per hour for prime ice and $70.90 per hour for practice ice plus GST at the Claresholm Arena for the 2022-2023 season.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? All in favor? Passed. Moving on. Request for decision, East Side Dog Park name. Abe?
So we, administration went ahead and did a request for names from the community and received, I think, a fair amount of names and from the public for the East Side Dog Park. And then administration kind of voted on their preference for the top 5. Initially, it was just going to be a top 3, but wanted to get a few more included. Now, if council can approve this list, we'll send this back out on a survey and giving the public the chance to vote on the top name. The survey happens between April 26th and May 4th. So the names are the Bark Park, the Barking Lot, Louise McKinney Park, Patterson Dog Park, and Happy Tales Dog Park. So that's the recommended list. I think you've seen all the names. If there's any that you really want to get on this, I guess speak now or forever hold your peace.
Want to go get one off?
Pardon?
Want to go take one off?
Okay.
Well, that's why we went to the
Yeah.
vote, right?
These, essentially,
That was an administrative vote. That was not a public vote.
if there's one that you're particularly concerned about, then yes. If you can agree that you don't want it on there, then we'll just bump another one up.
Councillor Kettles.
Well, I'm wondering if Ms. McKenney would appreciate the dog park named after her, so I would certainly, not that she's not deserving of something, but I'm not sure that's it.
Scott Lavery. Scott Lavery.
Is the one that you're opposed to.
I'm opposed to Patterson Dog Park.
That's why we sent it to a vote.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Would you like to make a motion?
For what?
Well, I kind of agree with keeping it away from names with the way
Yeah.
history goes, and everybody keeps
Yeah.
renaming everything because that's something somebody did one time that,
This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be something that's supposed to be, make clear, hey, I'm going to the barking lot with the dogs. I'm not going to Patterson Park. We already got a Patterson Park. We've got a Louise McKinney Park. I think it should be something fun and something different.
Okay.
All right. So you propose to take out Lewis McKinney Park and Patterson Dog Park?
I would.
Any thoughts? Lots of nodding heads.
So I'm just trying to pick up, did you have any suggestions to replace that with?
Oh, there's lots of fun names. on
There's a
there.
couple of extra
Can you-
names in there.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the actual list. If you have it
I
handy.
do have it.
Okay.
I kind of liked K9 Corner.
Right, K9 Corner, right, that was a good one.
My child has a few in there, so I will not make any recommendations.
I gotta say, this took up a lot more time in my extended household than it should have for being a cat family this weekend.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
And I don't mind Patterson Dog Park or Lewis McKinney Park. I don't. I'm also not a fan of cancel culture, is that what they call it? So
Mhm.
Here, I'm just gonna plug this into yours. Don't make me do it after.
What are you gonna do? Oh,
Well, I think this was the ones. This isn't, this is all of them, but
Yeah, it took me a minute.
why is it not liking? There we go. So,
Look at these guys with the technology.
Back up.
Anderson Creamery, rough part of town. Canine
it's almost
Corner,
appropriate for
I
it.
like K9 Corner.
Prairie Paw, Canine Park.
Jewel
This
Island.
is kind of cute, the Pock.
Oh, the
Let's
park.
go with the Pock.
P-A-W-K, yeah.
So we,
Porcupine Hills.
Was there some down on the side there too?
There was a lot.
There was a lot,
This was
yeah.
the one that was kind of,
Ah,
I think, whittled down.
Do you wanna take a look at the list?
no, I trust you
Right,
guys
yeah.
impeccably. Is that the right word?
so what was that one that Mike liked?
Um,
There we go.
What? Yeah,
Doggo East Park, Wagon
I'm a fan
Trails,
of K9 Corner.
Yeah, corner, there you go.
With the word or the
Four
K9?
Leg Park.
See, we're both on there.
K9. K9 Park. K9 Corner.
Declare some.
Paws and Tails.
Kind of sounds like a spa.
What
I think that's
about
kind of nice.
Alfred- What about Alfred Cat's Dog Park?
Oh, for cats. Don't tell them that. They'll be there. Eh.
And you want 5, eh?
You don't have to, but.
Yeah, we can do
do
4.
If you want.
Just let us know if you'd rather have Louise McKinney or Patterson Dog Park eliminated.
I would eliminate Lewis McKinney
Would you
over
like
Patterson.
Canine Corner or Canine Park?
K9 Corner.
Any other ones? Can you guys read those? Do I need to zoom in?
Windy Meadows, maybe?
Paw Park. Paw Patrol Park.
Oh, Drool Island, I didn't see that one.
Mike likes that one
I
too.
was, I like Jewel Island.
That's,
I thought it was kind of awesome.
that's kind of good.
Well,
We can't call
I
it
like-
Shit and Pig Park?
no, you can't say that on here either.
What?
It's
Oh.
on there.
It's on here. Whatever works for everybody.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 there
I
that
just don't think we should.
they can send them out. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if we need to attach names to them. I think keep this light and a little bit fluffy.
Windy Meadows?
Yes.
Sure.
What was that one?
Oh, it was up there. Windy Meadows
Okay.
Park, I think. Windy Meadow Dog Park.
Okay.
Right.
So
Windy
you
Windy
want-
Meadows.
And K9, you want the K and the 9s? There's
Sure.
also, somebody wrote K9 as.
Right, so they wrote K9 as, so I don't want to change, I don't know.
But they're
whatever.
both
Two
on
ways
there.
though.
Oh,
There
are
was
they?
one that
Oh,
was
yeah.
K9 in the word, and one that was K and then the number 9.
I like the K and the number 9 corner.
So we have Bark Park, Barking Lot, K9 Corner, K-9, Windy Meadows, and Happy Tails Dog Park.
Are you guys happy? Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
What was the last one, sorry? What did we say? Windy
Windy
I think
Meadows
it's
Park.
dog park.
Dog park.
Way too much fun with this.
Are you mad at me now?
That was-
Did you take Patterson off?
Yeah. You mad at me now?
No. I didn't want to name Patterson Park.
So moved by Councillor Meister. Yeah, question?
So moved by Councillor Meister to accept the following name proposals to be voted on for the East Side Dog Park. The Bark Park, the Barking Lot, K9 Corner, as in K and 9, Windy Meadows Dog Park, and Happy Tales Dog Park.
Any further questions, comments, suggestions? All in favor? Passed. Moving on, request for decision, 2022 final budget. Abe?
Yeah, so council's been working on finalizing the budget. Back in December, approved the interim budget just to carry the operations over into the new year. At that point, there's still a lot of unknowns in the budget. And so we're at the point now, though, where we're working on the property tax rate bylaw. We've received a lot of the requisitions, the assessments, assessment roll for the year, and so we're in a position now for a final budget approval. I'll just give you a few highlights of what's changed since the interim budget was approved in December. Removed $18,500 from the budget for the internship grant that we were unsuccessful for. Removed $14,500 from the budget for software systems. Removed $10,000 from the budget for economic development. Removed $9,000 for council convention costs. $10,000 increase in insurance. That was an unanticipated increase in insurance costs that we didn't know at the time. $6,000 for planning and GIS services. That's an increase. Increase in $30,000 to the tax requisitions, the $25,000 for the education requisition, and $5,000 in the Porcupine Hills Lodge. So those ended up being a little higher than we anticipated. And then there were a number of small adjustments made, just based on historical year ends. Now that we have the 2021 year end in, we looked at some areas where we could trim some budgeted items down, just based on the 2021 year end and historicals, and we were able to find $26,000 in reductions there. There's also capital budget changes that we would like approved as well, because some things have changed in the capital budget since December. And so that's the Second Street Rehab Phase 2. This was already approved at a council meeting in February, but there's an additional $175,000 that's funding that project, and that's coming from the Canada Community Building Fund, which is formerly the federal gas tax fund. We talked about the compressor as well. We won't be buying a new compressor, but we'll be rebuilding, just due to the unavailability of actually buying a new compressor, and so that changes that price tag from $60,000 to $30,000. Amundsen Park was moved up from 2023 to 2022, just to align with grant funding that we received. And finally, the sewer main project on Highway 2 was changed from a realigning to a spot repair project. Additionally, this was the first year that we collected applications from our community groups for operational grants. And we received applications from 6 of our groups: the library, the golf course, the Child Care Society, the Animal Rescue Society, the Community Center, and the Transportation Society. And so those are now finalized. Council has, those were approved at the Audit and Finance Committee and are here before you, Council, to be finalized as part of the budget. So that is on the agenda for approval this evening.
Open it up for discussion.
I'll talk to them.
Counselor Carlson.
I'm going to talk some more.
Mhm.
So going through this after our last FIPSI meeting and being quite discouraged with the tax rate increase, knowing that we've actually have worked our butts off, and I will give admin credit for all the work that they've done to keep it where it is. The provincial downloading's been absolutely ridiculous. However, it's our job up here not only to worry about the budget, but also to worry about the effects of that budget on the citizens. Going through the numbers a little bit, and I hate bringing up water rates because it's contentious at best. However, our usage was much higher last year. In our 2021 year, our budgeted amortization was $343,000 and change. The actual transfer that we were able to make was $790,000. So we've got an extra $446,000 that went into reserves on that side alone. Sewer is a little bit into the negative of it, but it still balances out between 2021 and our budgeted 2022 that we will still be over on our transfers into reserves by $489,000. Be it that that it's in the bylaw to actually take any overages over operating costs and goes directly into reserves for maintenance and upkeep. I think that we should take this back and also check the wording on that bylaw itself to have discretion on the transfers over and above amortization. And if we're over the amount budgeted for our total accounts at the end of the year, that we can offset back to the consumer the following year, or even just for this year, knowing that our budgets are a little insane. That way we can absorb about 3% of that increase off of water and sewer alone back to the residents. So that's what I'm proposing tonight and how we'd like to word that. That's for the brilliant people then in administration to look at. But I think we've got to do something for the residents at this time with the increases that we see. And I'll leave it at that. And
Counselor Cutler.
Everything's going up. I agree 110%. We need to take a look at what we can do to help offset that. But if you look at the 4.92% increase, only 0.88% of that is our increase. The rest of that is provincial and federal stuff. I think as a community, we are trying to do our best at keeping rates down as much as we can. I do have a concern about talking about the water rates again in regards to either changing it or if we're using more, we are on a cost recovery process. So if they're using more, we are simply getting the money back to replace those processes that we're using. We're 32 years behind on receiving money. I think if we start dabbling back into the idea of breaks and looking at ways to steal from Peter to pay Paul to make people happy, we're going to end up being in trouble again, because when we have to go back to Paul and get him, we're going to piss off Peter again because we have to change the rates back up. It's a cost recovery process. We're 32 years behind in that cost recovery step. I think it's a very dangerous and very slippery slope to go back and open up those cans of worms to try to save some money for 1 year when our cost is 0.88%.
Yep. And I agree with you. It is a slippery slope. And if we weren't over last year by over double, then I would have concerns with
Over by double by what?
we
Our estimated recovery?
our actual transfers
That we-
versus budgeted amortization.
That we're only in our second year figuring this thing out, right? We didn't know what we're, it's a cost per use piece. Like,
Yeah.
if we're taking in $700,000, there's $700,000 worth of usage being done. There's pipes, and we're 32 years behind. If we start taking back and thinking, you're right, we're $300,000, but we're also $6.8 million behind on a new building if it breaks down tomorrow.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And it is a slippery slope. I know we're doing our best to balance those off. I think we owe it to the residents to look at some way to help offset the costs. And if this wasn't money going over and above our projections into reserves, so into the town's savings account for later use, I would not be bringing it up. But at this time, with the numbers the way they are and as many residents that we have on fixed income, I will put it out as basically the only place that I could see out of going through this entire stack of papers where we've got a chance to assist the residents in offsetting inflation as it sits right now. So I don't want to hash it any further than that, and I'll let you guys talk about it, and we'll put it to the vote to pass the budget and go from there.
Abe?
We can bring back a conversation piece for council on those water rates and actually have a detailed conversation about those concerns. And, you know, in a given year, when you get an extra, like double the revenues you expected, how we might kind of mitigate that a little bit. We can bring that back for a conversation at another time. And that way council can mull it over and determine where they want to be with that. And that doesn't necessarily affect this budget decision today. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind looking it over. I'm somewhere in the middle of both of your guys' conversations. I don't like the idea of not putting anything for future use to put and save to have that, but at the same time, there's a huge hike in taxes, and
Yeah,
it's a lot.
And nowhere in there have I said not putting anything away for future use.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the overage above our budgeted plan for that savings. So over and above the budgeted savings. And when we're almost $500,000 over in 1 year and offering a close to 5% tax increase, I want to ensure that every resident I can look at understands that we've done our absolute best to control how we affect them in the future, while still being responsible and putting money away to ensure that we've got the plan system in place for those replacements. And yes, we are many years behind, and it's something that hasn't been done before. And I am the first one, I think even back when we had our little forum for the last election, I stood up and said, I am very proud of the work that we've done with water and sewer. And I had a few oohs and ahs because that's contentious, but I am. I think what we've done with it is the proper thing to do. When we have what I'm going to call an anomaly, we can't have an anomaly like this and then pass on another 5% on this, plus pass another 1% on power or gas, and a proposed 2% increase on water and sewer rates. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feel as though we are doing the best for our citizens. So that's where it comes from, is not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but find a process which helps determine what happens when we have an overage as large as this, and how it affects both administrative's budget and the community at large. So it's not a matter of not saving. It's not a matter of not being responsible. It is a matter of ensuring that our citizens can look at us and go, thank you for running the town, not F you for running us down.
Councillor Kettles.
Understanding the concerns, and as a new councillor, I'm very happy that previous councils dealt with the water issue as well as they did, no doubt. I would caution that a one-year anomaly is maybe simply that. I could maybe be swayed in a future conversation if we were looking at some sort of a 3 or a 5 year average of see where we're at, and then maybe adjust some water rate or some amortization or something in that regard. I think my point would be that we should have that conversation, and I think we can protect our ratepayers by having that conversation moving forward and having it reflect in discussions for the upcoming budget year, not necessarily this one, which is, I think, fairly well discussed, fairly well defended. As Mike said, most of this increase is not ours. I know that has little solace to the person writing the check, but I think we've done a fair, better than fair job of doing what we can in this budget year, and let's look again and try harder the next budget year.
I have so many thoughts racing through my head. I just know.
I agree with all of you.
Yeah. I agree. I don't want to. I've lost sleep over these tax increases, looking at it as well, just to see what can be done, how to explain it. And I know there's just going to be continuous offloading from the provincial government, and I worry where we're going to be in the next year. Are they going to increase again? And where, then when's the right time? If it's not right now, is it next year when they continue to do it? And I have lots of questions and don't have a lot of answers for them with these questions as well. So I have agree with everyone at this moment. So is this something we can, if we approve the budget, we can still have this discussion and have Blair here as well to be crunching numbers for us? Is that?
Yeah, we can have a conversation at an audit and finance committee meeting about the utility rate bylaw, and kind of discuss those rates with these concerns here, and how to maybe, I don't know how to manage that, prevent that over collection, I guess, in the future, or options. We can have a conversation about that, or prepare a conversation for council about that, for sure.
I would
Yeah.
like to see this come back with administration's eyeballs on that utility rate.
We can do that.
Keeping in mind that delaying that budget requires, to make any of that happen, requires a full bylaw change. It's more complex than anything. It's probably three months worth of work minimum by the time it's all said and done. So it comes down to the budget tonight and as to whether we pass it or not. So, but understanding that we can take a look at what I see as something that needs some eyes on it.
Councillor Kettles?
Given that conversation and the fact that it will take some time and we need to move some things, I think I would be prepared to move that we approve the 2022 budget as presented.
Any further thoughts? Comments? Oh, questions, sorry. Question.
Moved by Councillor Kettles to approve the final 2022 budget as presented.
Any further thoughts or discussion with this? All in favor? Motion passed. Opposed? 2 opposed. Passed. Do you need a motion for administration to come back with this bylaw? Would anyone like to make that motion? Motion by Councillor Carlson. Question?
Moved by Councillor Carlson to direct administration to prepare information on the water rates to be discussed at the Audit and Finance Committee level at an upcoming meeting.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? All in favor? Passed. Moving on, information brief, council committee reports. Abe?
Yeah, CAO report first.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. So information brief, CAO report.
Just for your information, council, on what the various departments have been up to. Monthly report from administration.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Everyone had a chance to review it? Take it for information at this time. Now 13, information brief, council committee reports. Abe?
Yep. Similar report, but from council on your activity over the last couple of weeks.
Anyone would like to elaborate on their committee reports? Not at this time. Take it for information. Looking for an adoption of the information items as presented. Oh, sorry, information brief. Council resolution status, Abe. I can't see tonight.
Yeah, for your information, council, again, status on past motions from council.
Questions?
Any questions on anything?
Take it for information. Moving on, adoption of information items. Moved by Councillor Cutler to adopt the information items as presented. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to adopt the information items as presented.
Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Looking for a motion to go in camera. Motion by Councillor Carlson to go in camera to discuss intergovernment relations and personnel. All in favor? camera off at 8:10 p.m. Motion to come out of camera. Sorry. There's so many hands. Motion by Counselor Meister to come out of camera. All in favor? Out of camera at 8:27 p.m. We are looking for a motion for personnel FOIP Section 17. Abe, would like to speak on it? Sorry.
Yeah, just, we're looking to hire a family member of a current town employee. We've gone through the recruitment process, and according to the policies, we have to have a motion from council to approve that hiring. So,
Would anyone like to make this motion? Motion by Counselor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to approve the hiring of Paige Van Dellen, who is an immediate family member of current staff, for a summer staff position, and that the hiring be in accordance with Policy 1.0.01, the hiring policy.
Any further questions, comments, or concerns in regards to this? All in motion passed. We need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Motion by Councillor Carlson. All in favor? Meeting adjourned at 8:28 p.m. Camera off.